Hi, I'm Stephen Halasnik. How are you? Today what we're going to talk about is how to buy equipment with a business line of credit, or why it's better to buy your equipment with a line of credit. Um, Now, there are many reasons why it doesn't make sense to buy any equipment with a line of credit. But let's go over all the different scenarios that could possibly involve. What is a line of credit? Of course, a line of credit is a fixed amount of money that you're approved by through a financial institution. It could be a bank, it could be an alternative lender, for a set amount of money that you have the ability to use for whatever you want. So one of the reasons why some people use a business line of credit to buy equipment is because they might have the cash in the next 30, 60, or 90 days to pay it off, and they don't want to get into the financing charges of a equipment financing. Um, and that's a good reason. You might be flush with cash and you just kind of want to make that purchase and just get it all done with. So you use your line of credit, and it's potentially faster as well. The line of credit is already pre-approved, so that's what people will use that for. And also there's some equipment that cannot be financed. Used equipment cannot typically be financed. Custom equipment sometimes cannot be financed. So sometimes you have to use a line of credit for those type of purchases as well. And there are also some equipment loans that are very, very, very expensive. If you go back to the people that you're buying the equipment from, and you say, hey, you know what? What if I gave you cash for this? What would it cost? And then when you find out what the equipment loan expense is, or if it's a lease, and you add it all up, then you're like, whoa, this is really a lot more than I really want to pay. And so that's why sometimes people will use a line of credit. If your business is newer, you may not have established credit yet, and you may not have the credit worthiness also to be approved for a business loan or a business lease. So that's another good reason to use your line of credit. And also, what you should know too is that equipment loans often require a very large down payment. Rather you use a line of credit, sometimes that's good for the down payment, and because maybe you don't have the cash, and so you'll use the line of credit for that reason. So, listen, over a long period of time, I've always felt that having a line of credit for every business is really, really a smart move, regardless if you use it or not. If you've ever been caught short on cash and you have to make payroll, you'll know what I mean. It's kind of a sleepless night. So let's also talk a little bit about the differences between equipment loans and equipment leases. So equipment loan is just like buying a car. Well, it's like buying a car, right? It's financed over a 2 or 3 year period, and you take ownership right up front. Because you take ownership right up front, you are paying taxes right up front on that equipment. A lease, the biggest misconception of a lease is that it's rented. It's not. Rental is completely different than a lease. A lease is where you sign for, again, a 2 to 3 year period, let's say in this example, a period of time of paying for the equipment, but the person who gave you the equipment still owns that equipment, and you are paying that person, and at the end there is a buyout, typically. What that means is they will be able to spread out the taxes for the equipment lease over that 2 to 3 year period. But there are other expenses. There's the financing expenses, and there could be also insurance expenses that are involved in any type of lease. So you just want to make sure you understand what's involved in that. But just keep in mind, you can't break a lease. You can't just say, you know what, I don't use this equipment here, I'm sending it back. They're going to still hit you up on this. And The other thing about this, what most people don't understand, especially for small businesses, when you're under $5 million in revenue, even under $10 million in revenue, you are still signing for this stuff personally. So what does that mean? It hits your credit report. And how does it hit your credit report? Because when you have your personal credit report, it adds up all the things that the credit agencies believe that you can afford to have outstanding that you owe money toward, like your house, okay? And they add it all up, and if you go too high against that amount, then your credit score starts going down. And that's one of the main reasons why a lot of times, I'm in the financing business, when we look at owners' credit reports, they're really bad because they have to sign for so many personal things. Now, that's buying a piece of equipment with a unsecured line of credit, like my company provides a financing solutions, doesn't go on your credit report, which is really, really good because it's unsecured. It doesn't require any collateral. Whereas with a commercial bank, you are signing personally. It often requires collateral, and they are reporting against the credit agencies. So that is something to consider why using a line of credit could be a better thing from a personal credit standpoint. The other thing to keep in mind is that when you're buying used equipment, like I said before, those cannot be financed usually. So having a line of credit ready to go if you see a good deal on used equipment is one of the top reasons why someone would set up a line of credit with my company, for example. The other thing you should know is that the people who finance equipment purchases are not typically the same company you buy from. And so there's an incentive for the company that you're buying the equipment from to sell you the financing because they get commission on that. So you just want to make sure that you understand the total cost involved in financing. The other thing about financing, sometimes it could take some time, whereas a line of credit is ready to go, so you can just move on with it. And one of the other things that you really can consider too is, let's say you're having a great year financially, and you want to write all that equipment off in that year because you want to lower your tax burden. You can do that. And with a line of credit, which is a cash purchase, you can do that. You can write it all off as an expense potentially. You want to certainly talk to your accountant about that, but it could make more sense. So again, something to consider. I would always recommend that every single business out there has a line of credit in place, regardless if it's through a commercial bank or an alternative lender like us. It's really a good cash backup plan, regardless if you're buying equipment or if you just have a problem that certainly comes up. Hope this information helps, and just keep at it. Have a great day, and love being a business owner. It's the best thing in the world. I've loved it ever since I've been doing it. Thanks.